Welcome to the Brag Effect, where we share easy to understand customer service tips from business owners and leaders that will help you get your customers bragging about you in all the right ways. Hi, I'm Mike Wells, and together with my co-host Michelle Adams. Hey Michelle.
Hi Mike.
Our big thanks for joining us.
Our guest today is Nick Merry, CEO of Motivforce, a global multi-award-winning loyalty marketing agency who specialise in B2B loyalty, reward and recognition programs, as well as multi-channel marketing and organising high-end incentive travel events. Nick is also able to help individuals and businesses achieve their full potential through his programs and coaching. He loves helping businesses plan memorable events and creating future memories, including one that visited 5 African countries in one day. And he also organised one of the first formal lunches held on the Great Wall of China for an Australian incentive group. He also climbed Kilimanjaro twice for motor neuron disease and ovarian cancer charities. Nick, thanks for joining us on the show today.
That's a pleasure, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. And I'm really excited to talk to you today about something that we at Bragg are really passionate about, and that's customer loyalty.
Sure.
So it'd be really good to kind of start on that point and just sort of get your, suggestions around how brands can build that customer loyalty. And we know, we've all heard that saying, it takes more to get a new customer than it does to keep an existing one. So what's some ideas on ways that businesses can do that?
Well, look, there's no doubt nowadays businesses have had to change the way they're doing business globally. And that does affect, there's really 2 types of loyalty. If you think about it, there's the attitudinal loyalty, which is a brand, you love that brand, and regardless of where it is or how much it is, that's the one that you're going to buy or use. And then there's the behavioral loyalty. And this has really come into the fore now. So behavioral loyalty is you're kind of trapped. You haven't got any other options. And that's where you would then go. So again, if one of the big supermarkets is down the road from you, you're more likely to go to that one than get in your car and drive to the other one that maybe you prefer. But because the other one is local, you would like to, it's just easy. So that's that sort of behavioral loyalty where you're trapped.
So convenience. You're choosing
convenience.
Convenience.
It's about convenience. So you're not necessarily loyal. You may be a very strong repeat customer, but are you loyal to that brand? Yes, you are in one respect, but you're not necessarily loyal to the brand itself. It's just that it's convenient for you. And that's grocery stores always play that card. That's why they try and be in separate parts of the city or the region rather than take each other on head on. So it's an interesting thing.
So what was the first one before the behavior?
So that's attitudinal loyalty.
Attitude loyalty. Okay.
So it's so it's brands that you love. Apple have got it in spades. They love they don't need a loyalty program because people love the brand. So that is a perfect example of attitudinal loyalty, where regardless of what they're bringing out, people will buy it.
So what are some examples of some attitude loyalty that you've seen in your experience?
Well, attitudinal, definitely Apple, as I've mentioned. That's without question. But then it's fashion is also one of those scenarios. Fashion is... it's a particular brand of clothing that maybe it fits you much better, especially nowadays with the sporting brands. A lot of us are working from home, and let's be honest, we're probably sitting around in workout gear a little more. But whether it's a Nike or whether it's Adidas or 2XU or there's a number of brands out there, you tend to stick with one because you found a fit that works for you and your figure, or you find it works best for the type of workout that you're doing. So again, it's sort of an attitudinal loyalty. Regardless of how much that is, you're going to go with that particular brand because of the way it feels to you. So it's a kind of that how it feels. And if it feels good, you'll certainly move towards it. It's not behavioral, but just because it's the nearest one to you.
So if we look at that in terms of psychology, I know when it comes to making a buying decision, there's the emotional and then there's the rational. Is that quite similar in this context?
Absolutely. The emotional, yep. Yeah, emotional loyalty, you definitely is the attitudinal. You've got an emotional attachment to that brand. Like, airlines use that. You know, if you think of, particularly here in Australia, the Qantas versus Virgin scenario, you know, that's an emotional attachment to a brand. And especially, I mean, I've heard of people that have actually changed job roles or companies because when we were allowed to travel, their company had the other one was their corporate agreement was with the opposite one that they were loyal to, and they've actually changed job roles or companies because they want to
Wow,
find.
that is loyal.
So that's incredibly loyal. Even though that company's paying for you to earn those points, it's like, well, no, it's not the service, and that's a definite emotional loyalty. And that's happening probably more and more now, although that's probably happening more and more because of the online, you know, and that's the importance of online shopping now as well, is just finding that brand that attracts you online, makes it very easy for you to shop with them, and you get those maybe soft benefits. And that's another part of loyalty, where, you know, whether it's free shipping, free returns, easy to return, you know, sort of easy to live chat, those sorts of things have been taken online. Whereas in the old days, it was kind of like, oh, I got to wrap it up and take it back to the store. And how many times have clothes not made it back to the store because you couldn't be bothered? So
Yeah.
it's those sorts of types of loyalty that are sitting there right now at the moment.
So sometimes that the behavioral loyalty might actually tie into the emotional loyalty, like what you just said with free shipping as an example. Well, if that's super easy, and, you know, here's a reply paid envelope or whatever it might be, where they even give you the, you know, the satchel and the label, just makes it so much easier than having to go to a post office and parcel it back up.
Yes, couldn't agree more. The more frictionless you can make it, the more chance you have of getting, well, again, behavioral loyalty, but you then start to move into that emotional loyalty, because you become a safe pair of hands to that individual. They know that it's going to be constant with you, that the next time they order something, it's going to be an easy way. If it doesn't fit, they're going to be able to send it back very frictionless. Whereas if it's no returns, or you've got to return it in 7 days and you just can't get to the store, you've kind of wasted your money. So it's that's definitely playing into people's hands now.
Yeah. So I'm glad you used the airline loyalty programs loyalty as an example. I mean, they've always kind of done it quite well in terms of their frequent flyer programs that they run. That's not all, though. And I really want to kind of flesh this out, because I think, yes, it's great to have these loyalty programs, and, you know, you've got your flybys and all of these things. And I mean, sometimes it can be a bit loyalty program overload, and there's just so many out there. I mean, I just don't even use my flybys at Coles or Woolies or whatever it is now. It's just takes too long. I mean, even at a checkout now, every checkout you go to, it's like, are you a member? If not, you've got, you know, you sign up, but why? So you can spam me with your marketing? It's what's the real benefits? And I think, you know, it's important in business that we understand that, yes, there's expectations that need to be met, but there's also what else. So is this the value of loyalty programs? Is what are the little extra things that you can do to really add benefit to a purchase? So it'd be good to kind of chat about your thoughts on that too.
Yeah, well, we always look at it in the loyalty. When we put our programs together for our clients, there's the hard benefits and there's the soft benefits. Your hard benefits are the points or whatever currency you're earning, and they are for you to redeem in whatever manner. Then you have the soft benefits. Is that, you know, it could be a tier. It could be that you've shopped enough and suddenly, or you've flown enough and suddenly you're now up a level, and then you get extra benefits. You're still flying with them. It's not making your trip any faster, but it's making it more comfortable, or you're being recognized, and recognition being the premium one here for the soft benefit. And the further up the tiers you go, the more benefits you get. And then they tend to be more soft benefits. So soft benefits are definitely one of those things that, you know, sometimes they don't even cost you anything, or they may cost you from a, you know, some way, especially if you think about airlines with lounges. Obviously, to put the lounge in place and to put food and beverage in it and service levels, you've got to pay for that from a airline point of view, but it's seen as a soft benefit because the member isn't paying any more for it. They're just getting it as part of their tiered process. So it's soft benefits are definitely both of them, hard benefits and soft benefits. Hard benefits are more fixed. It's kind of like what you get is what you get. But the soft benefits, you can fluctuate and move around a little bit depending on what it is. I mean, there's an argument, is Amazon Prime a loyalty program? I would say it is, yes. It's more of a membership program though, because you pay your however much it is per annual fee, but you get the benefits that come with it. So that's kind of hard benefits by paying up front. You haven't earned them except for pay for them. Whereas with Qantas or Virgin, you fly, you get more points,
rewards.
You get more, you get more rewards, you get more benefits from doing that. So you haven't paid, I mean, you've obviously paid to fly with them, but you haven't paid a membership fee to gain those benefits. You've paid by being with them and being loyal to them that's allowed you to have the benefits.
So what do you recommend is more successful? So if you were talking to a customer that was considering a loyalty program or membership program, how do you determine what's best for that business?
Well, this comes down to what you can offer, and this comes down to that customer service element. Now, Amazon Prime, without question, has shaken up every region that it goes into. It's shaken it up with the whole one-day delivery or even same-day delivery. You're paying a fee to have those benefits, and obviously it's not everything that you purchase, but you're also getting music. They have their streaming that comes part of it. You have some of the Kindle books are free. You get Prime Day deals where you get special discounts. All of those kind of things are all wrapped up into that one membership fee. Whereas, but if you're not doing that type of thing, you could have a membership to a store or an online portal that doesn't do any of that. And you've got to ask the question, well, what benefit is that fee, that membership fee to me? Now, obviously there's bricks and mortar stores that request that you have, and Costco being one of them. They also have that. So that's a membership fee. But people are loyal to that brand because it's a sort of a unique, it's a unique retailer, certainly in the Australian market. I don't know if IKEA would ever go as far as putting that in, maybe. But, there isn't the argument would be you've got to back it up. You've got to back up the membership fee. It's got to be worthwhile. And this comes down to what we call effort reward ratio. So it's the effort versus whatever the reward is. And if the effort is putting money in, well, that's it. That's fairly frictionless. You just put money towards it and you get a reward. But if you've got to jump through a number of hoops to get the reward, then you're making a lot of friction, and therefore people tend to back out of that one. So you just have to make sure that if you're putting membership up, you've got a lot of reasons why someone would be paying to be a member, rather than provide really good service, frictionless service, really good quality products, and they'll become loyal anyway over the long term.
So it's really, loyalty programs are really that if you look at your customer base and you determine that, maybe 60% might be driven by loyalty programs or offerings, those hard rewards, and then the other percent might be more the soft rewards. So, yep. And, I know if you look at the traditional sort of, coffee cards as an example, this is a really good one that it'd be good to get your thoughts on. Like, sure. When you look at coffee cards, it's hard to find a coffee store now that doesn't sort of have some sort of a reward program. Yeah. But a lot of people, and I know for me in particular, would just, just remember me, acknowledge me when I come back every day, so that I don't have to tell you what my order is. And I want to feel valued. I want to feel connected. I'm looking for that interaction. So I don't care about a loyalty program. For me as a customer, when it comes to a coffee retailer, But yet some people are driven by that. Some people are really price conscious. They want to make sure they get their free coffee. They don't care if you don't remember them. So are these some of the kind of inquiries that you suggest businesses make when it comes to these decisions?
Yeah, I mean, the coffee one is a perfect example of, is it behavioral or is it attitudinal for that? Now, why do people go to a coffee store? Now, when we think about Australia, very big cafe culture and a number of suburbs and a number of city places, you obviously have a number of options to go to. Surely it has to be the quality of the coffee that is the reason you go back to that particular coffee store as such. Now, as in within your walking distance or the region that you're going to be in. Very unlikely to drive across town to go and get a really good coffee unless you happen to know people over that way and you're having it. So if you think about, particularly with work from home as well, you've kind of probably done a circuit of the coffee shops to find out which one works best. And as you rightly said, the recognition is probably the number one thing. That someone saw you walk through the door, you yourself, oh, it's Michelle, she has a skin flat white, and it's kind of like, same again, you're going to keep going back to that one because you feel it's the cheers mentality, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Absolutely. That's the recognition, and that's hard to beat. That really is hard to beat. You wouldn't go back if the coffee was bad, though.
No, correct.
You're probably going to have a better chance of going back if maybe they had a new barista and they got it wrong, or the grinding was wrong and it just didn't taste right. You're probably likely to go back again, though.
A bit more forgiving if it's out of character.
Absolutely. But you're unlikely to go back if it's always someone different behind the counter. They don't know who you are. It's literally thrown at you. And regardless of how good the coffee is, you kind of, which one makes you feel warm and fuzzy? So the coffee one is an interesting one because, I will put my hand up and say Starbucks. It's a bit of a swear word in Australia, but without question, they've got one of the best loyalty programs in the world. And they just know everything about you. And that's that data, which is incredible. Now, we don't have that we don't really have Starbucks down here to compare. And what do
they do well? Because I'm not familiar with their program.
It's just the app that they have is literally they know who you are, where you are. It's all location driven. They will throw in, oh, you're near, here's a discount off your coffee of choice, or a muffin that you've bought recently from one of their other stores. But because they are just a big franchise, they can operate that way, and it's just so personal that it's almost a bit stalkerish. I mean,
that's a bit scary.
And that's the balance between loyalty programs and being that sort of, it's like being advertised to. We all have a problem with, don't track me across the web, cookies, all of this kind of stuff. Yet actually, is it a bad thing if they're personalizing content that you like to you? It's an age-old argument I think will continue. Is it going to walk down the same path as the film Minority Report, where you're walking and the billboard's changing specific to you? It's probably going to happen. Yeah, I'd imagine there's a number of companies ready to do that. But is it a bad thing if it's tailored specific to you and your requirements? And that's how much freedom do you want to give them to do that? So it's the same with Starbucks. They do the same thing with their program. It's very personal, but it works and it wins a number of awards and it wins a number of customers. Here in Australia, they're very different. We're very cafe culture. So your local card, your 10th coffee you get for free, does it really matter? It's kind of like, it's more about the service. And making them a really good coffee and making them feel like they're your only customer, and putting them in a nice environment where if they don't want to take it out, they could sit there. That's kind of that's what you want to feel. And you're going to get a lot more referrals that way, I tell you.
Yeah. And I guess too, it's different types of businesses. You have different applications. So I owned a restaurant, back in the day for my sins. And, and we didn't have a loyalty program, but it was very personable. We did have a lot of that cheers mentality, and we did know a lot of our customers by name. And, you know, for those regulars that did come in, we'd always kind of either shout them a glass of wine or a dessert, or, you know, make them feel special on their birthdays, and all those little touch points that really made a difference. But if you're an e-commerce business, then, you know, what are some ways that you can really sort of make that that personal kind of offering that does make them feel like that VIP, which is that feeling that you want to give your customer, which is the whole point of, you know, the loyalty program. But it's kind of like, what's the intention behind it? A lot of businesses like Starbucks are really driving that kind of behavior and offering just to get you back in the store to purchase.
Yeah.
Not because they want to reward you for being a customer. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the difficulty between, you know, when you've got a Starbucks, that's a bricks and mortar store. There's nothing else you can do about that. You can't really deliver it any other way. But they're using all of the online metrics that they've got at their disposal to deliver as close a personalized environment as possible without you being in one of their stores. By just knowing where you are and what you're about to, you know, it's probably about that time, 10:30 on a you know, Thursday morning. It's probably due your skin flat white, whatever it may be, and here's a notification on your phone. Whether that's, but does it make it the cheers effect? Not really, because it's an algorithm doing it for you. You're still going to have to go into that store, and if that store lets you down with the service level, then regardless of how powerful the algorithm that is providing the notifications and the reward metrics, it doesn't matter. And that's the power of customer service. You know, regardless of which way you do it, whether it's an online store, whether it's a bricks and mortar store using an online, or whether it's just bricks and mortar, it's all about service, no matter what. The product and the service are the two key things.
That's awesome. That's music to my ears. So, you're suggesting too then that a loyalty program is really just an added benefit that a business can offer to help drive loyalty. It can't be used on its own. You still need that, you know, the level of service to meet expectations.
Yeah, we have the 3 R's in loyalty, or certainly in Motivforce we call it. You know, it's the reputation, referrals, and reviews. Right? And the reputation of the brand. You know, we work in the B2B loyalty space, but regardless whether it's B2B or B2C, it's the reputation of the brand, the referrals that you can get by being good at what you do, and what the quality of your product and the quality of your service, and the reviews that you get because of that. All of those are powerful metrics, because if you haven't even got, you know, if you've got 2 of 3 of those, or 1 out of 3 of those, a loyalty program it's going to be a band-aid that's still not going to fix the issue. And regardless of how good your loyalty program sort of comes across as, if your service is bad, the quality is bad, they'll eventually walk, because it's just not worth being a member or a partner. So it's the 3 R's.
I feel like I could do a whole interview just on that. So just thinking about reward and recognition inside. So we were talking about customer loyalty. When it comes to teams or people, you know, we talk often about driving a customer-centric culture in an organization. You know, you take care of your people take care of your customers take care of the bottom line. So when you're talking to businesses about loyalty or reward programs within an organization, what are some of the starting points?
So you're talking like employee recognition programs?
Yes.
Staff recognition. Yeah, so that's the B2E side. So we have the B2B, the B2C, and the B2E. And particularly now, you couldn't get a more important time for employee health and employee recognition, particularly in the work from home environment. It's important. Well, it's kind of the 5 R's you just hit there with the recognition and reward. But recognition is without question the number one. because regardless of whether you get a reward or not, recognition of the work done is key. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of, there's a lot of platforms out there that have, even LinkedIn's doing it, kudos. Just send a colleague kudos for something that they've done. And that goes to show you what's happening, because that's missing from the office environment where, I know, having worked in sales many years ago, you used to have the bell where you used to ring the bell.
Yes.
And everyone used to stop in the office and cheer, and it was recognition of something happening. Or you used to have employee of the month or whatever it is. And they still do that, but you have to do it sort of in a platform way now. And social recognition, whether it's across social media platforms or whether it's internal, it's important to do it. Peer-to-peer recognition, not just leadership recognition, but peer-to-peer recognition. Because you'll always get those people in any work environment, business environment, that are the quiet achievers. They'll just get on and do it. And, without them, the business may not function. And it's kind of important that is recognized by a peer, and then leadership. Leadership, it's always important to be recognized by, but, I think peer-to-peer recognition nowadays is something that is probably more important now. And, yes, there may be some people that go over and above, recognizing people. But I think if you have your sort of loose boundaries, you can't just go, oh, well done for getting me my coffee today. It's kind of a loose recognition. But if it's recognition of something, going over and above, helping someone who outside of your normal job role, that type of thing, even volunteering at the weekend or anything, I think it's important. Again, it has that warm and fuzzy feel. So regardless of which way you look at it, recognition is probably king in all of it.
So I guess there's kind of two types of that recognition, isn't there? There's the involuntary, so it's rewarding a behavior, acknowledging a behavior that's positive. And then on the other side, there's the rewards for, meeting KPIs or achieving, a result. So having also worked in sales organizations over the years, there's always a competition kind of running to help drive sales. And have you seen sort of that change now? Are organizations moving more towards the kind of the recognition as opposed to the big, sales trips that I guess we can't travel right now for a sales trip, but
yeah, there's no doubt nowadays. I mean, we have an event management arm at Motivforce, and incentive travel is one of our, one of the parts of our business. And obviously, certainly from our Australian part of the company, that's gone very quiet at the moment. There's a lot of postponed stuff ready, and you can tell pent-up demand is there, but the uncertainty of what's going on is sort of driving that away, which now means that cash is becoming king again. Now, there's no, the gift vouchers, your MasterCard or your Visa card, that type of thing is definitely sitting up there as the number one reward at this moment. But you can't beat your experiential events. So they will always have a place. It's just now they've had to adapt them somewhat. Now, whether it's down to state-based or city-based or even suburb-based, they will always be something, because it's important to have that memory. We always say that cash is king. Everyone likes it. But when you get a card, do you remember what you spent it on? It's probably on the bill or in the gas in the car.
No, that's true.
You'll
remember.
Like
the Christmas gifts where you get a gift voucher or a birthday gift as a gift voucher instead of a gift. Yeah.
Yeah, and exactly the same, the experiential rewards. And it can be anything, whether it's even just going out for a meal with your teammates, whether it's going bowling or karaoke, just something that you've got a memory lock. It's there. And you remember who took you. That will always be the big driver. But obviously right now we're a little restricted. So to answer your question, recognition has probably come to the fore a little more, but the rewards are still there. The rewards are still absolutely there. But I think, people do understand that maybe financially businesses aren't as well off as they used to be. So the rewards have changed somewhat. And again, it could be just the pat on the back recognition reward that they're doing. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's, you know, as I said, that's something that's the warm and fuzzy feeling that everyone wants to get. So it's it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Have you seen any inventive things that businesses have done or that you've suggested as opposed to the travel bonus offering?
Yeah, we've seen it around the world. We put in there's the hybrid event model, which, you know, that's more about the conference type event where maybe leadership could be in a room together, socially distanced and filmed, but you're watching it from work from home type thing, or maybe certain people in certain cities can be together. We've done a couple where, certainly in Australia, where those who may have got together at, say, one destination, whether it be overseas or in Australia, we then tried to create the environment where they were taken to a hotel in the city in the state that they were in on the same night, and they had the same meal, and they had, you know, the same gifts, and they had the same sort of interaction. So they had a Zoom, maybe it was a cocktail making class, but they were doing it virtually, but they were having that night away with their partner. But they were all doing it together, but it was in different regions and different hotels and different. So it's tricky. Still not the same. It's still not the same. And then you had the home one where you delivered it to home, and it could be a beer tasting course or a gin making course or something like that, where you had to log in and you had the ingredients in front of you. So, you know, there's a bunch of adaptations that could be done, but again, wonderful as some of them are, and it's nice to see some sort of ingenuity and innovation around it, you can't replace the real thing.
Yes. But like you said, people are compassionate, given it's not a company's choice to be offering that as a solution for now. No. Hopefully not for much longer. One of the other things I wanted to chat to you about and hopefully get some practical tips for business owners and leaders is you also run a coaching business called A Merry Mind.
Yep.
I love that name. And your mission is to make individuals and businesses perform at their best and achieve their goals. So what are some of the tips that you can offer to businesses to help them perform at their best?
Well, this comes back to, I mean, the Motivforce and my coaching business are I try and blend them almost together. It's a passion of mine to really just try and drive people to, as I said, perform at their best. And that's when they have the right environment. Yeah, and as far as businesses go, they need to provide the right environment. Like you said earlier, you know, if people will do what they can do to make your business really stand out, if they are, you know, feel like they're recognized. As I said, it's not even so much about the reward. It's the recognition for the work that they have done. And, you know, I have in my coaching business, as I said, it's a side project to Motivforce, but they blend. I look at it and think, well, what's your goal? What are you trying to achieve? You know, people had to do the pivot. I don't really like that word, but I don't know of another one. Adaptation.
Be adaptable.
I had to adapt in that work from home. So yeah, it's kind of like, well, what happened there? How did you manage that scenario? Did you just leave people, you know, to their one-on-one weekly meeting, or did you then do a checkpoint for 5 minutes every day just to make sure that they're okay? And it was sort of making sure that even though we're remote and we're distanced, that people are okay. I mean, there's no question that mental health is going to be a big issue for the globe coming out of this. So it is about making sure that people feel as protected as a company can. And even little things like we did a thing locally where we sent our staff here just a little pot plant when Melbourne was in lockdown, particularly Melbourne in the long lockdown, just to sort of say, look, we're bringing the outdoors to you, put it next to your desk and, you know, kind of look after it.
Really nice.
Kind of like but it was just a little thing to sort of say, look, we're thinking of you. It wasn't to rub their noses in it and say, well, look, you can't go outside, so here's outside. But it was more about just giving them something that they knew that we were thinking of them.
Yeah.
And that's what I would encourage any business to do, is just go, look, you said it, everyone knows it. You've got to look after your staff to make sure that they look after your customers. And if they don't do that, then you've got a problem. And that's your customer service. And that comes back to your loyalty. And it all is linked somehow.
So that's the organizational business ideas. That what about on a personal level for business leaders? You know, sometimes it's quite lonely at the top. You're trying to take care of your team. What are some ways that you recommend or suggest for business leaders to keep a merry mind?
It is a tough one. I mean, I sort of sit in that role myself with Motivforce, and it's a hard one. And the tips I would say are you have to be kind to yourself by giving yourself space. There's no point, and we all do it, especially in the leadership. You just do a Zoom meeting after a Zoom meeting after a Zoom meeting. You know, you need time between that. You need, number one, to prepare for a meeting. You need to engage in that meeting fully. You need to then digest what came out of that meeting. We have a saying, it's kind of like you need to bring more energy to a meeting than you're taking from it, so that you're adding more energy. And if you just keep doing Zoom after Zoom after Zoom after Zoom, by the end of the day, you're so drained, you won't have cared about the last 4 or 5 calls. And that will be very obvious to your team. So it's important to buy yourself some time, and that's all about your scheduling. You know, you read about these nowadays, you know, people getting up at 5 a.m. and they've got to do this, and they've got to do their morning routine. I'm all for a morning routine. Whether you got to get up at 5 a.m., that's up to the individual. But you've got to give yourself that time, whether it's to learn, to do exercise. I would highly recommend everyone putting in instead of an hour meeting, you do a 50-minute meeting, and by that 10-minute time to go and make a coffee, go for a walk, do some push-ups, do something, just to break the monotony of sitting in front of a screen, because that's all we do. You know, it's Zoom. Then even if you haven't got a meeting, you're probably answering emails. So I would say, without question, you have to look after yourself. It's the same with even with family. You know, there's no point you burning yourself out, because you're going to be no use to anyone. So, you know, and I would encourage you then to pass that down the line as well, to make sure that everyone is getting their time to themselves. Yeah, especially in a work from home environment, you know, I don't know what's right and what's wrong, you know, whether it is the best thing for individuals, but you haven't got that camaraderie to go down to the coffee shop with your card to get your stamp, to have 10, 15 minutes with your colleague. You don't have that. You don't have that water cooler. You don't have that kitchen scenario. So you and if you think about your work day in an office, you weren't at your computer all the time, one after the other. So you've kind of got to think, what would I be doing?
Not often enough, actually.
Right. I mean, where's your lunchtime? You either went to the gym, played sport, or you just went for, whether it was a beverage or whether it was just a sandwich, into the park. So, and people don't do that. They just work through. And because it's at home, they're probably starting earlier and they're finishing later because they haven't got the commute. And even on the commute, you used to listen to podcasts or ebooks or, read ebooks or something that you didn't bring the office home with you.
That's very true. Very, very true.
So you want to make sure that when you walk in that door, you're almost like, wherever your office is at home, the door that you walk through into your house to see your family is the door that you were walking through from the front door, where you've had that brain break of doing something. You need to engage with them in the same way that you used to, because I think it's too easy nowadays just to walk through the bedroom door or the study door and you've brought work with you. Whereas in the old days, you probably were, commuting somehow and you had switched off somewhat from work. You could bring a different version of yourself. So it's important just to make sure that you know your boundaries of family, yourself, and work. There's the 3 elements, really.
That's great insight. So I want to recap that. So the first is be able to give more than what you take when you turn up for a meeting or phone call or whatever it is in your day. To create some space around your meetings or your tasks for yourself, whether it be go outside. And that's the hardest thing I know for me to do, because, you know, you're driven by the to-do list and the tasks at hand. And I know, you know, my partner Mike's always saying, just go and take 5 minutes outside and breathe in the fresh air, or look up, or when you do, it feels amazing, but it's just stepping away from the computer can be the challenging thing at times. So love that tip. And then the third one, think of your office as your commute to your workplace, and be really present to your family and people in your life so you can disconnect as such.
Yeah, very important.
That's been amazing, Nick. I really appreciate all your insight. I've loved chatting with you today. Thanks for being on the show.
Really appreciate it, Michelle. I really appreciate the time, and thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, Nick. We'll see you soon.
You will. Thank you.
The Brag Effect is brought to you by Brag Reviews, the review management software that helps businesses improve their reputations, one review at a time. Check it out at bragreviews.com.